Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we are diving back into our The Arranged series by Stella Gray. If you have not already listened to Book One's review, The Deal, that link is going to be available down below in the description section. Once you catch up on Book One, come and join us as we dive into Book Two, which is called The Secret. The book starts off with a flashback, and it is of Stefan letting us know who the woman is that he's been looking for all this time. And her name is Anja Borhan. She was a KZ model, and she and Stefan had started messing around when he was about 17 years old. I think he was like a senior in high school. We also find out that Stefan had been sleeping with the models since he was about 13, because apparently he knew about the side job that they slept with clients as well, but he thought it was just something that the women wanted to do, like a side hustle to make more money, because a lot of them were taking care of, whole families back in their native countries. So his thought was, hey, I'm not going to judge them. That's their gig that they want to do. It is what it is. So, of course, he's a rich kid. He does have money. So he's going to get a few of them. It is what it is. So he fell in love with Anja, and he wanted to marry her. Like, he bought a ring and everything. So when he proposed to her, she was just like, that can't happen. And he was like, well, why? We love each other, and if you want to keep modeling, you can, but you don't have to keep doing the side job anymore, because I can take care of you. Once I get my MBA, you really won't need to do anything unless you just want to. And he had already, I think, gotten, or he was about to get, like, the trust fund from his father. So that was enough to take care of him for a long time. So she just tells him it's not that, it's not as easy for me to walk away as you may think. But she did tell him, give me a few days to think about it. And then a few days later, he gets a text message saying meet at her apartment. He gets there. Place is totally wiped out. Looks like no one ever lived there. His father shows up, and we find out that the father had her deported and had known all along that he had this relationship going on with her. The dad, Constantine, told him, do you really think I would allow you to marry a whore? I was like, damn, so harsh. So that's when he finds out that the girls aren't doing the side job because they want to. They're forced to do it. That's a part of their job. And so his dad was just, kind of bad, badgering him, telling him, basically how foolish he was to fall for that woman and all this type of stuff. And he realizes that he definitely wants to find her, but also that he's going to have to play a smarter game, because here he was thinking he was keeping stuff from his dad, and his dad knew the whole time. So he understood, okay, I got to kind of step my game up if I'm going to take over this company and really do all the things that I really want to do with it. Like, I'm going to really have to step it up. We come back to the present, and Stefan, remember, he had just walked in the room, and we see where she had found out about all the trafficking and everything. And so her father lets her know that there's nothing she can do, because she was all like, I'm going to call the police. You're not above the law. And he just looked at her like she was just a silly child. And he was like, you might want to stop, so that way it doesn't look like on the news that the senator's daughter's gone deranged calling 911 with false allegations. So she storms out of the room. Stefan's behind her. And before she had left out, her father had said to her, or actually had said to Stefan, basically, you need to keep her in check. They get to the elevator. Stefan lets her know, you can't go to the police. And she's like, well, I can go to the FBI. And he's like, you don't understand. This goes up to the highest levels of law enforcement. They're aware of what's happening. This isn't cut and dry like you're thinking it is. And basically, it could ruin those girls' lives. You're putting them at risk. Like, all these different things, because she's on this whole, I get it. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Right? And I get that. But you also got to kind of understand, Your father is a senator and he is involved in this. That means this goes super high. This is not going to be a cut and dry type of situation. You know what I'm saying? When senators do stuff, how many people know about it and cover for it? You got to be realistic. And I get that she's 18, but at the same time, you spent your life as a senator's daughter, which means you've seen some stuff. Like, it's not like your father is this, upstanding citizen. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you've seen some things. So when I look at it that way, I'm kind of like, you shouldn't be this naive into feeling like things work a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like she should have seen something. I do know that sometimes, they can shield their kids from it, and sometimes kids still see things. So I don't know. I guess we'll just say she's young, she's 18, and she really just doesn't know anything, and we'll just assume the father kept everything from her. We'll go with that. So they get back in the car, and on the way back to their apartment, condo, penthouse, however we say it, he pretty much lets her know you need to play the role that you were supposed to play, which is go to school, keep your head down, come home, suck my dick every night. So she's sitting there like beyond pissed. But she does start to realize, I can't just have a temper tantrum and run off and go say anything about what Constantine has going on, because she can tell. Now, at least that's my thing, she at least has enough sense to know Constantine is dangerous. And clearly your father's probably just as dangerous if they've sat up here and made this alliance and got you to marry, so this is going to have to be a long and thought out plan. So she knows she's got to kind of sit back at this point. They get back to the apartment, and she decides she's going to take back some of the power. She's going to move out of the master bedroom, and she's going to go into the guest bedroom. So he's, of course, looking at her like, what are you doing? And she just basically let him know, I'll do what I'm supposed to do in duty, but I am not sleeping with you. We are not sharing the same bed. That shit's done. And so basically she's just, she's bidding her time, trying to calculate a plan. And it's funny because they're both doing the same things with their fathers, right? She's trying to calculate a plan to, like, free the girls, and he seems to be doing the same thing as well. So Tori started to pretty much spend her time at school with her friends, and she wouldn't come home until, like, really late. Stefan wouldn't even come home sometimes at night. And if he did, it was, like, well into the middle of the night. So she thought he was possibly sleeping with one of the models. But it was like, it is what it is at this point. So she has a friend at school named Gavin. They wind up going out for a nice dinner. They almost kissed, but she stops it. Right before the kiss was about to happen, she saw Stefan's face. And the guy just, he thinks so highly of her. He loves her nerding out with words. And she's thinking to herself, like, why can I like such a nice guy like this, instead of being stuck on stupid with Stefan. So when she leaves, she does cry, but she just kind of allows herself to feel those emotions, knowing that eventually it'll get better. Just right now, her heart has to catch up with her mind. So Tori and her classmates, I think Gavin and Diane were on her team, and they have been working like super hard on this project, and they get an A. So they're going to go out, and she had agreed to come, but when she got back to the house, there was a expensive dress laid out for her and other expensive stuff, and Stefan was there, and he's like, we'll leave in an hour, just wear minimal makeup, no lipstick. And she's like, what do you mean, where are we going? So they apparently were going to a fundraiser to stop sex trafficking. Oh my gosh, the absolute irony is crazy. So she's like, I am not going, and he's like, oh yes you are. So she was like, she had plans. He was like, this is a part of your job. This is what you have to do to keep up appearances. We can't let Constantine know that you're not on board. You need to show him you're on the right team. So she texts Gavin, let him know, can't make it, scheduling conflict. She gets ready. And then she's thinking at the same, like, as she getting ready, because he had given her like really sexy lingerie, like, would be kind of fun to have him take it off for me at the end of the night. So They go to the event. Luca's drunk out of his mind. Clearly, he's reeling from finding out what the company's side gig is. She tried to calm him down, but it was kind of like to no avail. And then finally, Stefan came over and kind of was like, "You need to get yourself together. Go to the bathroom, get yourself sobered up." Um, but he wound up passing out in the bathroom. It was just awful. So they have their rounds, talking to different elite people, and Grace comes up because we gotta remember her family's rich. I think they have like a handbag empire that she's supposed to take over. So they talk for a little bit, and she's like, we got to have a girls' day and, a coffee date or something. And then later on, she had texted her, "Are you guys okay? Because I noticed, your body language." And Tori was like, "Oh, it's just, a lover's quarrel. That's it." And she tells her, "If you need to, you can come to my place. I got a huge apartment." She's like, it has a jacuzzi and everything. So you just let me know. And so she was like, "If I need it, I'll let you know. Thank you for offering." So then they make some more rounds. Stefan gets a phone call, and he just walks away right in the middle of a conversation with people, and goes outside, and she goes behind him, and she sees that he's with a woman. And he's like holding the woman, like has her head on his shoulder. Looks very intimate, okay? And she decides then, he doesn't love me, and I need to figure out a way to permanently get rid of whatever I feel because they are pointless. She goes back into working super hard at school. She'd even said to him that she was going to stay with Grace for a few days. He didn't even blink, didn't even care. So she was having the study session with Gavin, and he was like, "You know what? We worked hard. You should come out with us tonight." He can tell, of course, something's going on with her, and he let her know if she wants to talk about it, she can, but she doesn't have to. He just wants her to know he's there for her. So then she gets a text message from Stefan saying there's a dress picked out for you. We're having dinner with the family. And she decides, fuck this. I'm not going. I'm going to hang out with my friends. And so she doesn't respond to him. She turns off her phone, and she's like, "You know what? I'm done. You left me to go be with your mistress in the middle of an event. I'm done." So she figures if her phone's cut off, he can't track her. So she asks Gavin to get her a fake ID. And at first he was like, "I can't do that." And she was like, "Listen, if you really want me to loosen up and really have a good time with you guys, I'm going to need a drink." And so he was like, all right. He caves. He's like, "I'll get you one." So she goes out. She has drinks. She's having a blast. Her and Gavin, there's chemistry there. And she's throwing back the shots. And then she feels sick. But before that, while they were talking, she starts thinking that thought again about Gavin. Like, damn, like the possibility of having something with someone like this, And she really starts wondering, like, if she could tell him about her real situation, would he be willing to wait for me? And this is like all these little thoughts are like going through her head. So then she gets sick. And she's going towards the bathroom, but then stuff starts getting real, like, off. Like she can tell she can't even put her hand in front. Like, something's clearly wrong. And before you know it, she passes out. And I think Gavin put something in the drink, honestly, because that's just weird. But right before she hit the floor, she saw Stefan's face. And she's like, "Oh, shit, I'm dreaming about him," She goes out. So we go to Stefan's POV, which I love. And yes, I'm going to still have the same complaint with this book. There was not enough from Stefan's POV for me. And it wasn't. It just really wasn't. So we go back to his POV, and he has put a bodyguard on her named Dimitri. So he knows that she's at the club. So he didn't need her phone to be on. He's having her tailed. So he had told his father that the reason she wasn't there was because she had started this really hard program. And the dad was pissed because he felt like, how they are sometimes with family. Oh, it's a slap in the face, and it's just crap. And so he was pissed that she went, but at the same time, he didn't trip out that bad. But what got him was when Dimitri sent him the pictures of Gavin and her dancing. And that's when he saw red all over. And he was like, oh no. And then once he sent those pictures, that's when he like hauled ass and was on his way to that club. And he got there just in time because he saw Tori stumbling. And he went. So when she saw his face before she passed out, that was really happening. It wasn't a dream. He had gotten there to her right before she passed out. So as Stefan's taking her out, the Gavin guy comes up and he was like, you know, he was headed to the bathroom to check on her or some shit like that. And I feel like I think he did it. I'm trying to remember if he actually admitted to it, but I think he did. And he made the comment too, and clearly Stefan thought he had done it, you know, and he made the comment to Stefan, if I wanted to get her in bed, I wouldn't need to drug her. So that's why I was kind of confused. I was like, well, did you drug her or not? But I don't know. I still think we're just going to go with the fact that he possibly did it. So he gets her out of there, and he has this whole thing in his brain about how much he cares about her. He's holding her, and it's like they've been at war with each other, so he can't show this under normal circumstances. But, you know, while she's passed out, he can, like, dote on her and take care of her. And he wants to tell her everything, so he must have a plan going on, but he doesn't feel like he can fully trust her at this point. And thus the reason they're at a standstill, basically. Tori wakes up the next morning. She's feeling absolutely awful. She's not fully able to remember the previous night. She's kind of remembering glimpses and pieces of things. She does remember Gavin giving her a lot of drinks, but in her mind, she's just thinking, Gavin got me home safe. I just drank too much, and I hope I didn't make too much of a fool of myself. So she doesn't turn on her phone because she's kind of afraid of what the text messages are going to say. So she goes into the kitchen, and because she smells bacon cooking, and she thinks Gret is there, but it is Stefan. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm making you breakfast. Sit down. So she's looking weird, like, this doesn't look right. You know, this is just some type of game. So she didn't want the food, so he made her a smoothie. She's still looking suspicious. And she just wouldn't cave. It was like she would not admit that she had been out. She didn't know what he knew. And she was like, so I'm just not going to say anything. So he tells her, if you take a bite, then you can leave Kitty Cat. So then she really thinks, oh, he's playing mind games. Because Kitty Cat is the name he says to her when they're intimate. Like, this is a game, you know? So she takes a bite, and then she gets back to the room. She tells him she has cramps. She goes to spend the day in bed, and is like, I don't know what games he's playing, but I do not trust him. So she goes to school on Monday, and her friends are like, you know, what happened to you? We've been calling you. But I guess they were calling her that night, but it looks like they stopped after that night. And so now she's kind of thinking, like, what type of friends are you that you would, you know, not be blowing up my phone thinking something had happened to me? So she asked Gavin, who was being different to her, because like normally when class is over, the lecture is over, he comes over to her, but she had to like go over to him, and he just seemed really off. And she asked him, you know what happened, because now she's thinking she possibly could have been drugged because of how things started. Because she was like, yeah, I know I drink a lot, but I don't think I drank more than what I did when I was in, I think it was Vienna. She's like, so somebody must have put something in my drink. And so Gavin basically tries to tell her, oh, Stefan had somebody watching you. There was this big guy that had been watching you the whole night, and that Stefan came in and he got you out of there. He was being all aggressive and possessive. And he basically was trying to say that he thinks that Stefan had her drugged. So basically, like, come in and save the day. But that doesn't make sense, that someone would have to go to those links. Like I would have been like, that don't sound right. And she even thought it to herself, like, this doesn't sound right. Like, this sounds like Gavin's leaving something out. And then but at least she thinks he's leaving something out. I can't trust anybody. So I was glad she wasn't like all of a sudden believing everything that Gavin said. You know what I'm saying? Well, I don't trust Stefan, but I can trust this person. I know I can trust this person. She was kind of still able to see like the holes in what he was telling her. So I was proud of her for that. So she goes home and she thinks, I just need an early night in, get some rest. But when she gets home, Stefan's there. She's, of course, is like, what are you doing here? And he's like, last time I checked, this is my condo. And so she went straight to her room. She got, all these thoughts like going around in her brain. Greta had left some Indian food, which is exactly what she had wanted. So he had heated it up already. So she ate that because she did want it. But my thing is, if you are entertaining the thought of what Gavin possibly told you, that this person could have drugged you, why would you eat the food? I don't know. That just seems weird to me. Like, if I didn't heat the food up myself, I wouldn't eat it because everyone is under suspicion at this point. But I don't know. She ate it. They sit down, they're having their food, and he starts asking her different questions about school, like the project she had, just different things about her school life. But she was giving him short answers because, again, girl is like, don't know if I can trust him, So then she's like, I got to get away from here. Like, I need to go out. So she puts on her Hervé Leger dress and she's going to go out. She's going to have a good time dancing. And she's also going to go see Gavin because she's thinking, he's a safe space. And, we can go out, dance, have a good time. So she's dolled up, walks out of the room. And Stefan is like, where the fuck are you going? And she's like, I'm going out. And he's like, no, you're not. And she was like, yes, I am. I'm going out. And he's like, who are you going to see? And she was like, I told you I needed a night out. And he was like, a night out from studying, not a night out on the town. And she was like, well, I'm going. So they have this whole back and forth. He had blocked her from leaving. And so, of course, that's still back and forth going on. And she was just kind of like, why do you even care? Why does it even matter where I go? Like, why? And he says to her, because you matter. Girl was gone. That did it for her. She grabbed his face, kissed him, and the kiss was beyond passion, and of course they ended up fucking against the wall. So they go in the shower, they have a nice shower, and he eats her pussy, he fingers her again, she comes again. And so while they're in the shower, he asks, she had asked him about, like, did you drug me? And he was like, no. He was like, I would have let you stay out, like you were having fun. I thought you were safe, but the minute I saw those pictures of the dude with his hands all over you, like, that did it. That's what made me come down there. And thankfully, he was like, I did, because somebody had put something in your drink. So, again, I think it was Gavin. So she believed him, and she asked him about having her followed. And he was like, it's not all the time. It's just for your protection, especially in line of what my father does and your father does. We need protection. And I just want to I just want to make sure you're protected. And so she was cool with that. She was like, just let me know when it's basically you're sending someone that's going to follow me. Boom. So they were in the master bedroom, and he tells her basically, like, you need to move your stuff back in here. He was like, now basically you know your place and all this type of shit. And it just made her feel bad, because it was like she thought they were moving in a positive direction, but then he started to make her feel like just a possession again. And she was just thinking, okay, just when I think we're getting past our shit, it's the same old, same old. She just kind of cried herself to sleep. So a few days later, she gets the call from MZ to have a girls' night out. But she's like, listen, I got midterms coming up, so can't do that. So they're going to have a nice lunch instead. They go to lunch. her and MZ are talking about this new guy that she's met who's an artist. They're getting along really great. She feels like this guy could possibly be the one. Then she asks her how her and Stefan were doing, and she was like, oh, we're doing okay. Why did you ask? And she's thinking like, is something wrong? Did he say something to you? Your brain starts working overdrive. And MZ was like, no, it's just that he's been in a foul mood for the past few weeks, but like the last few days, he's been good. And so then she's thinking in her head, because they've been back to their, normal sexual encounters, and she's back in the master bedroom. So that kind of made her feel a little good. So then she starts talking about how great of a brother he was, and when they were younger, and that something changed probably like around his senior year of high school, and that's when he kind of became cold. So now, of course, Tori's thinking, what happened? And she also realizes MZ doesn't know anything about the side business. And she didn't want to be the one to tell her because, that could possibly destroy a person. I mean, we see what happened with Luca. So after the lunch, she brought Stefan something from the place as well. So she went back. She was going to take it to the office. And she at first was thinking like, oh, shoot, I remembered I wasn't supposed to come back to the office unless I was invited. But then it was like, that was before I knew everything. I know everything now. So she goes up to his office and he's like, kitty cat, what are you doing here? And she just pretty much was like, I figured you would be hungry. And so I wanted to bring you lunch. And so he was actually thankful because he was hungry. So he pulled her in for the kids, took her in the office. He was getting ready to eat. And then she was like, I think I want dessert. So she went underneath the desk and she sucked his dick. And that was an erotic thing to Rig, I must admit. It really was. And he came in her mouth. She swallowed every drop. And then she just left out. So again, her and Stefan have settled into this nice routine. And basically he spends more time at home. But he's still working while he's at home, But he's doing it there. She's doing her school work. They just have a nice little balance. And so one night, they're at the table and she gets her results in for the semester. Girl got all A's. So she, of course, is super excited. He's like, we need to celebrate. And they had made something called Timpano, I think you say it. It's from a movie called The Big Night, which I haven't seen. It's from the 90s with Stanley Tucci. I'm going to have to look at that, because I normally like Stanley Tucci movies. So I'm going to have to look at that. So they both love this film. And so they were just kind of going back and forth, saying different quotes. He had popped some Dom Perignon, just having a nice time with each other. So then she decides she's going to start asking some questions. And so she starts him off. And so she asked him, when did the illegal stuff start? And he was honest. He said, honestly, it could have been from day one. I don't know. His father was an immigrant from Serbia. He's like, I don't know if he started off doing illegal stuff. I'm really not sure. But I was aware of the side business as early as 11 or 12 years old. I knew what was going on. He was like, I don't think my mom knew, because I don't think she would have stood for that. And so basically in her mind now, she's trying to figure out like, it's an actual business. So the modeling part is real. It's legit. She just can't wrap her mind around the fact of why they're doing the other part. Like, why do you even need to? Now, I do think the mother knew, because when they describe the paintings that the mother does, it's very dark. So that's why I think she possibly knew. And maybe that was her way of, kind of expressing it, was through her art. That's my personal opinion. I don't know, but that's what I think. So then we go back to Stefan's point of view, and he knows, okay, I don't need her asking any more questions. So he tells her to go to the room, take off all your clothes, and be ready for me. So she goes in the room, and it's like she was kind of warring with herself, because she wanted to ask more questions, but the girl wanted the D. So she went, and before she left, he had told her, I'll make you come twice. Deal? So she, of course, is like, deal. So he eats her pussy, makes her come. He fucks her hard. She comes twice. And then he kind of has this thought process to himself while she's sleeping of like, he kind of lied to himself, thinking that keeping the distance with her was like making life easier, but really it was just making everything harder. And the truth was, he was just scared because he knew he was falling for her. And it's kind of like, this one of those things, like, you start falling for people, and it's kind of sometimes like, how do you stop? You know, it's like, you know, you should, but how do you stop? And I think that's what was kind of messing with him as well, you know. So then he was like, you know, he still doesn't want her to get too close to the truth because he knows his father has a way of making people disappear. And he got to try and keep the lines defined, you know. But the truth of the matter is, they're already blurred. You feel too much for the woman, and it is what it is. But my thing is, you claim, it's like you seem to want to do the right thing as well. Clearly, you know, she does. I don't, that's the part I'm not understanding. You know, she loves you. You see it. And you know, you want to say you're falling, but you know you've already fallen for the woman. It's like, what in the world? Like, this is where if you all would have just talked, I feel like it's like you could have become a team. Because she wants to help those women, you know it. And if you're trying to change what your father's done, what a great ally. Like, now we don't have to fake like we're on one accord. Like, you can really be on one accord. Like, I don't know. That just, to me, it's like they're just kind of just missing each other. And I don't, and maybe it's just a matter of, this is why communication is so important. Because if you just flat out was like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. She's already let you know that she wants to help those girls, you know. She's not going to the authorities because she doesn't want to do anything to jeopardize those women's safety. So why do you feel like that's someone you can't trust? I'm just saying. That was my little rant about that. So she comes home. She calls out for Stefan. This is another day. She doesn't get an answer, but she hears some wrestling, and she goes in. It's Constantine. He's like, where's my son? And she was like, I don't know. And he's looking at the art on the wall, which was Stefan's mother's work. And he made the comment, you know, that his wife was disturbed. He said she had delusions in her head. So he clearly doesn't like her art. But that is what makes me think even more so that she knew who and what he was doing. They have a mini conversation about art. She says again, you know, do you want me to call him? And he was like, don't you think I tried that? He was just an ass. And so then he says to her that, you know, his son has become, you know, extremely distracted since he's married her. And she gets some balls, and she tells him, you know, well, maybe he understands that you have to have a life outside of KZ. And something dealing with about doing stuff and obeying the law. Some shit she said. Well, when she did that, he jacked her up. And he had pinned her against the wall, like choking her, and basically let her know, you don't know what you're talking about. You are no different than the women that lay on their backs and sell it. I was like, damn. And I thought, you know, she realized this was a dangerous person. So I don't know why she felt the need to be that ballsy to say that to him. Like, some people, you have to understand who and what they are. And I know she's young. I get it. But bitch, if I know somebody dangerous, I ain't finna be up here just running off at the mouth saying shit. Like, who does that? That's not how you deal with dangerous people, you know? I'm just saying. Like, now she's all scared because she fucked up on the wall. But it's like, you alone in the apartment with him. He done got in your apartment. This is your home. He clearly has a key to it. Or he broke in or whatever. Like, I ain't finna say nothing slick to you. I'm gonna try and keep the fucking peace. Because you're someone who can't be trusted. So I thought that was very reckless on her part. So right before she was about to pass out. And it's not funny, but it is, because I'm like, you shouldn't have said nothing. This man doesn't have any regard for anybody. Right? Like, I don't know. I'm like, you just don't fuck with people like that. Just, there's no moral compass. There's no, oh, you shouldn't do this to people. Like, he sells people. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? oh, that girl. So then Stefan barges in, and the dad dropped her, and because she wasn't fully on the floor, but she was like on her tippy toes. And so Stefan sees, he's like, you get the fuck away from her. And the dad was like, he acting like he ain't did shit. And Stefan was like, how did you get in here? And the dad was like, you don't think I have keys to all of your places? Besides, I'm the one that's the reason that you all have anything. And he was pretty much like, I don't give a fuck. You better not never come near her again. And he's taller than the dad. And so for a split second, she could see where there was a little fear in that father. Kind of like the kid is an actual opponent, not just your child. And that kind of scared her, because if someone sees you as an opponent, then that means they're going to start calculating a way to get you out of it. They don't care. You know what I mean? Because now it's not, you're my son. There's not none of that. You're an opponent. That shit's different then, So that scared her. And so she started begging the dad to leave, to kind of like put it on her, could you please just leave, She started crying, And so afterwards, when the dad left, he was like wanting to know what happened. And he was like consoling her. And at first, girl couldn't talk. She was stunned. And she was terrified. And then eventually she was able to tell him what happened. And then just a floodgate of tears came. And he was just like, consoling her. You're safe. I got you. And then he takes her to her room. And, of course, now she's getting a little hot and heavy, because she can't get too close to a dude because she wants him. So he starts fingering her. Then he ate her pussy. And then he told her, I want to take your ass. And so he gets some lube. Puts it on one finger. Then he gives her another, works his way up. She's liking it. And she loves being filled by this man. And so then he put some more lube on her. And then he slowly worked his cock into her ass. And she was in love with it. And she felt so full. He was like rubbing her clit. The girl went crazy. She had never come as hard as then. And she literally was like, yeah, my body's yours. That's it. You've gotten everything. So Tori has found a new study spot. It's a place called Kave Moon. It's a Turkish place. She loves her coffee. She doesn't spend as much time with her study group. She still texts them, but she still feels kind of off about what happened at the club. So she's even kind of distanced herself from Dick Gavin as well. So she's studying, doing her own thing, and then a woman comes up. She looks like a classic KZ model. And she's thinking the woman's about to tell her she's pregnant or she's having a relationship with her husband or both. But the woman just tells her, you are married to Stefan, correct? And Tori says yes. And she says, tell your husband thank you. It all worked out. I appreciate his help. But she didn't go any further. And so then, of course, it now has her thinking, wow, he helps the women. So, maybe there's some redemption for him after all. So then she goes home and she's wanting to find out what that message meant. And so he wasn't home at first. And when he got there, she, of course, was like, I got a message from someone named Irina. So he, of course, was like, I don't know who that is. So she's like, okay, cool. You want to play games? Go play games. If you don't know who Irina is, there's no point in me giving you the message. So then he's like, tell me what the message was. So she tells him and was like, what does it mean? And he's like, it's no concern to you. So she kept trying to find out to no avail. So then she decided to try another approach. And she was like, oh, it must be someone you're sleeping with. Did you get someone pregnant and then you paid for her to take care of it? And he got tense, and that kind of scared her because she was like, she didn't know if there was some truth to that statement. So then she's trying to push him to the truth. He, of course, kept telling her how curiosity, what it did to the cat. And she still was trying to find out, and he came over to her and just started kissing her. That worked. She was starting to fall, but then she realizes, I need to stop this. I need to regain some type of control back. So she told him to wait while he was in the process of taking her panties off. And so he stopped immediately, and he's like, what's wrong? And he's like, am I too rough? He panicked, and she was like, I just need something from you. So basically just kind of gave her what he felt affection was wise via sex. So it was tender. It wasn't like the hardcore fuck session. It was like tender. It was like trying to make her feel what he felt, I guess, is what she was wanting at that moment, because he wasn't finna necessarily tell her what she wanted. So he tried to make her feel it. So after the session, she kind of knew, like, okay, even if he didn't say it, there's definitely something between us that's deeper than just sex. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll see. So Tori goes to school, and she gets back one of her tests, and she had got a C. So I'm a little confused, because it's like, girl was doing great. Her midterm, she had straight A's. But I guess this has been like a difficult course for her. So she's like, now I need to buckle down and study, because we can't be doing this. So she talks to her professor, and, they talk of different ways to just kind of help her get a better understanding of the material. She's going to rejoin the study group with the girls and Gavin. And before she went, she texted Stefan, let him know, hey, I'm staying out late to study. He's like, okay, cool, I'll be waiting for you, deal. She's like, all right, cool, deal. So she goes to the study, and the girls finally leave, and then it's just her and Gavin. She goes to stand, and she gets a little groggy, and I was like, oh, Lord, did he try and drug her again? But what it was is she hadn't had anything to eat all day, and so he's like, okay, let's go grab something to eat. At first she was like, no, it's already late. He was like, no, I can't in good conscience let you leave knowing you feel like this. So he took her to go get pizza, and then so they're eating pizza, talking, and then he kisses her, and she like, when she kisses him, she knows, like, I don't want him, like, she apologized to him. She's like, I know I've been giving you mixed signals, but I love my husband. And he was just like, I know you're married, but I don't care. He's like, I feel something. I feel like you do as well. He's like, we can make something work. Like, he was dead ass, like, he was in it. And I was like, oh my gosh. But she told him again, I'm sorry, but I love my husband. And she realizes I need to go home, and I need to tell him that. So we go back to Stefan's point of view. He still has someone following her, because there's dangerous people out there. So he's still got someone watching her. So at first everything was fine until he gets a text message that shows her and Gavin at a pizza place and a kiss. And boy, lost it. Whole ball of fury. So when she comes home, he was like, where the fuck have you been? And she was like, I was studying, and I told you I was doing that. And he's like, you're going to sit up here and lie to me? So they're doing this back and forth, and he tells her he has the pictures of her kissing Gavin, and she's furious that he's been lying to her, not letting her know that someone was still tagging her. And he was like, so you're pissed off about that, and I'm not supposed to be pissed off about the fact that you were just kissing somebody else? And she screamed at him, if you would have asked, I would have told you. Yeah, he kissed me, and I pushed him away, and I left. And she's like, I would have told you about it if you would have just asked me instead of accusing me. So then Stefan was like, pretty much, he didn't want to hear it. He was pissed because he knew the Gavin guy wanted her because of what had been said at the club. And he's like, I don't have, he told her what Gavin said. The whole thing about, I don't have to drug her to get her into bed. And she kind of looked at him like, Gavin said that? And it was so the opposite of what she knew of Gavin. And so then she screamed out to him like, you're just such an idiot. She's like, I love you. And he just like froze. And she took the freezing as a rejection, but it wasn't. He was just trying to process it all. And so then he grabbed her and kissed her, and he told her, I love you too. And he was thinking like, damn, like I could have been sharing, everything with her. Like I was saying before, y'all could have been said shit if you just would have, just talked. It's like that when they would talk, it would be like in circles, and it was like stupid circles, and I was like, if you all just talk, this could be settled real easily. But they finally said, we finally get there. He realizes he has someone that genuinely loves him. And I'm again like, duh, she's been that, that. But anyway, So now he's going to, he feels like now he can tell her kind of everything. So, of course, they have like this magical fuck session. She sucked him off. He ate her pussy. They 69. It was just a glorious fuck session. And then, of course, during the whole time, they were whispering to each other how much they love each other, which is beautiful. So then after their mind-blowing sex session, it was time to basically tell her everything. So he tells her about Anya and what happened with her, and tells her how her father is involved. And so he partakes with the women, but he also sets them up with other high-powered men. So he's deeply entangled in this situation as well. So the reason they, of course, wanted the marriage is because basically it brings more legitimacy to KZ Models, but also the senators attached to it, and this it basically covers both sides, right? That was the purpose of this marriage. She was shocked, but at the same time, she clearly knew her father wasn't this Model A citizen. You know what I'm saying? So she felt bad for her stepmother, Michelle, but then she wondered, you know what? Michelle probably knows what he does, because the way she talks, she kind of feels like she knows what the man does, but if you're going to be in this life, this is what you got to expect, and this is what you got to deal with. So maybe she does know. Who knows? So he lets her know, Stefan lets her know that he's trying to destroy the whole business. That's his plan. But it's going to take time because his father doesn't trust anyone. And so marrying you was a part of me getting that trust. That was showing that I was settled down. And that was starting to help. So he also worries about her because he doesn't want the same thing to happen to her that happened to Anya, where she's just, up and taken, And so she lets him know she had thought he was cheating on her with different models. He lets her know it has only been you. So the next morning she wakes up and she wonders, was that like a dream night? And she goes in the kitchen and Stefan's cooking, and it's like, nope, this shit is real. He made her some bacon, eggs, some crepes, which are difficult. So he was putting in some effort. So then she let him know she wants to help. He's like, nope, keep your head down. This is too dangerous. And she's just kind of like, you act like I don't know anything. So she tries to seduce him into letting her help. And she's like, I know multiple languages. I can go places that only women can go. Like, I can be a real asset. And, he'll think that, aka Constantine will think I'm just a trophy wife. But that'll be like the whole setup. It could work. So then we go back to Stefan's point of view. He's in his office. He's having a hard time concentrating because he had such a wonderful weekend. He can't get his girl off his mind. So then his father storms in, face beat red. He's totally pissed. He's like, what the fuck is this? So he gives him a photo, and it's of Tori and Gavin in the library, and they're studying. They're sitting super close, but they're looking at the same book. So Stefan's calm because he knows there's nothing going on, but the father's like, she's a liability. Do you not realize who he is? Well, we come to find out Gavin's last name is Chase, and his brother, Frank Chase, works for the DOD, Department of Defense. So the father's tripping because he's like, this is the person that could take us down, And so Stefan in his head freaks out just a little bit because he didn't realize that was Frank's brother, because Frank is his connection at the Department of Defense with the FBI. So he thought, I should have, put those two and two things together, but he can't show his dad that he's feeling not confident, that there's a waiver. He can't do that. He has to show strength at all times with this guy, because weakness means that man's going to go in for the kill. So he just lets him know it's nothing, and I'll take care of it, it's no problem. And so the dad's like, your brother's drunk. He's screwing up stuff and taking care of things. And he's just like, you all are just going to screw everything I've built my whole life to build. I mean, just a whole mess. When the father had made that statement about she's disposable, that pissed him off. And that's when he got up in his dad's face and he's like, don't you ever say that about her again. He's like, we're a team. And if you need me, if you want me to stay on, I advise you understand that. because the dad does need him, because he's basically made himself invaluable to his father, so that way his dad can't just cut him off. He needs him to run certain parts of the business because he handles the legit side. He doesn't handle the bullshit. So he needs that part to continue to working. He can't do that all himself. So he does need Stefan. And so his dad kind of backs down, but he's still a mess. He's just, oh my gosh, he's just awful. So he storms out. Stefan realizes he can use this information to his advantage. So he gets Gavin's phone number, because he can log into her account and stuff. He gets Gavin's phone number, and he calls him and says, we have a mutual interest. And he says, you want to keep Tori safe, and you want to take my father down as well. So we'll see what happens with that. So then Tori comes home, and her and Stefan have another long talk, and he's like, okay, I got a lot to tell you. So he tells her about Gavin and what the whole plan was. So Gavin was supposed to get close to her to get information. So they basically were trying to see if Stefan was playing both sides of the fence. Like if he was involved in that shady side of the business. But if he was trying to, or if he was really turning on them, So they were trying to get as much as they could to verify if, he was legit. So while they were at the park, when they met up, which was in a public place, they had to act like they were arguing about her. Stefan even punched Gavin in the face, and they have to, they can never be seen together again after this blow up, because if the dad has pictures of Gavin and Tori, that means he's got someone following, right? So stuff's got to be real. So this is where Tori comes into play. She can be the person to get different files and things like that to Gavin to get to his brother, Frank. And she, of course, it can be study notes, you know what I'm saying? So it can be hidden a lot better that way. So at first of all, she's excited that she can help with this whole scheme, right? But then also she feels kind of like, oh, so Gavin was just using me. It kind of hurts her feelings a little bit. But Gavin had made a comment one time that, what did he say? It wasn't supposed to be like this. So I think he did fall for her, personally. So Stefan just let her know, he's no longer going to keep her in the dark about anything. They're moving forward. It's going to be them, them against the world. And I was like, that's cool. That's how it should have been. So they're going to a dinner at the father's house, and they're like practicing the lines, making sure she's got to be convincing that she's not going to tell anybody about anything she knows, and that she's going to keep her head down. She's got to be really convincing to get Constantine on her side. And so they get to the house, they go in the library, and there's a woman there and a fucking kid. And the woman speaks and says, Stefan. And she says, yes, he's your son. And the father, Constantine, is just looking so snarky, like I got him right where I want him. And now poor Tori, legs about to give out. She Stefan had to grasp her hand, hold her up. And she's thinking oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Because we finally got on great footing with each other. And now what the hell is going to happen? Is he going to choose to be with the first love of his life and his child and throw me away? What's going to happen? And that is how it ends. And so the last book in this series is called The Choice. So what did you all think of this book? I know this video is kind of long, but it was a lot of stuff and a lot of little rants I had to make, so it made it a little bit longer. But let me know what you guys think. Drop down in the comments section. Let me know what you think about this book. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available. The link's going to be available down below in the description section. Make sure you like and subscribe. And as always, I truly do thank you for your support and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.